So welcome everyone, and this is our latest session on onboarding, and this is the corporate welcome for you. I say that because one of the things I wanted to make clear, come on in, Becky, hi there. One of the things I wanted to stress is that this is indeed the corporate welcome session, and it's meant to complement anything you may be doing at the departmental level in terms of your onboarding experience. So welcome on behalf of me and the Center for Learning and Development and the Human Resource Secretariat to all of you. It's great to have you here. Today's session, a little bit about what we're going to be doing. I'll jump ahead a couple of screens again here. Once again, we'll be here about no later than 2 hours. Typically, we can get things done in about 90 minutes. You're going to have a lot of opportunity in this session to participate and to get to know each other a little bit at least. A couple of housekeeping. Make sure that, again, you're on mute because we can hear everything that's going on, and background noises will affect the ability of everyone else to hear me. If there's multiple sounds in the background, other participants will not be able to hear me when I'm speaking. So make sure things like your wireless devices are on silent as well in the event that you're not muted. We will be doing some polling, some interactive activities for you during the session today. We're going to cover a little bit about government as an employer, a place to work. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that you need to do moving forward. One of the things that I like to stress to people is that after today's session, you're not onboarded. This is only one piece of a series of items that you need to do, and I'm going to talk about some e-learning that's out there for you to take to enhance your onboarding experience. We're going to look at some other important documents and policies and whatnot that you need to be kept up to speed on. And I say that I know that there's probably quite a number of you who are student employees, but even if you are a student employee, the onboarding experience is universal, and we ask that whether you're here for 12 weeks or 16 weeks, or whether you're a permanent employee and you're here indefinitely, we want everyone to engage in the exact same experience, and we ask the same things from all of you. So welcome. I'm going to get started here first with we'd like to do a safety minute for each of our meetings that we host and training sessions and whatnot. And this one's going to be no different this morning. And for the past while, one of the safety tips that I've been using, or safety minutes that I've been using, is centered around the theme of safe driving. You're going to see your screen change, and give me 1 second here. And I'm going to ask you to think about your safe driving tips. So, one of the things I say to people is that, it's important to recognize safety at work, but we also have to get to work safely. So it starts off with that morning commute for you. So what are some of your safe driving tips? I'm always intrigued at what the comments are going to be. I get quite an assortment of comments on this topic. Now, look both ways, shoulder checks, don't text and drive, that's a big one, definitely. Checking the blind spots, slow down, absolutely pay attention to the road. Watch for moose, cannot stress that enough for sure in this province. Seat belts. Signals are there for a reason, absolutely. Pay attention to other vehicles, be cautious. This sounds like the speech I give my 17-year-old daughter every time she goes to take the car. Someone else offering up a comment. Any other safe driving tips? Or do we think we've covered the basics? Nicholas is typing, and we await in suspense. Keep your vehicle in good working condition. Absolutely. Maintenance is definitely a key component of safety. And if your car's got issues, it just goes to say that, common sense dictates to have those repairs made. So thanks, everyone. I just wanted to, as I said, engage you there for a second to get your minds flowing here this morning. And you're going to have a number of opportunities throughout the session here this morning to take part and participate as you did here. Get back to, you're going to see your screen change once again, and start sharing my webcam again. One of the things that we're very keen on in terms of our onboarding welcome session is to have an opportunity for one of our executive employees to come in and speak to you and welcome you officially on behalf of the executive team here in the government of Newfoundland and Labrador. This morning is no exception. Very pleased to have Jackie Lake Kavanaugh, who's an Assistant Deputy Minister of Public Safety and Enforcement with the Department of Justice and Public Safety. And I'm going to allocate a few minutes here for Jackie to say hi to you and welcome you, maybe share some of her experiences here as an employee in the government of Newfoundland and Labrador, and to welcome any questions and comments you might have. So you're just going to see the camera slide a little bit here, folks. There we go.
Okay, good to go?
Good to go.
Good morning, everybody. When Dean called me and asked me if I'd participate in this introduction in the onboarding session, I said, yes, of course. He said, do you want to know what is expected? I said, no, I don't. I'll do it because I love doing these things. I would like to welcome you on behalf of the executive throughout government. My title is Assistant Deputy Minister for Public Safety and Enforcement. So what that includes is, in my branch, it's the RNC and the RCMP in policing services. It's the provincial prison system. It's the probation system. It's victim services. It's the youth correction system for secure custody. Some of you may know that as Whitburn. It is the Chief Medical Examiner's Office. It's Fish and Wildlife Enforcement. And it's the Sheriff's Office. So we got a lot of stuff happening in my branch on a daily basis. But just a little bit in terms of before I came to this position, I've been in this position now for 4 years. And before that, I was Director of Policy and Strategic Planning for 10 years. And before that, I was in charge of establishing and then running the province's Victim Services Program for 10 years. So all of my public service career has been within the Department of Justice and Public Safety. You'll see as you meet people throughout your career, some people love to move around and they're touching base with different departments on a regular basis. You'll see other people, and I think in justice we see this a lot, that people come and settle in. And we don't tend to see a whole lot of movement to the same degree as we would in other positions, in other departments. Maybe some of that is because of the specialized nature of the positions. But I think for many people, and I hear this all the time, and I guess I feel a bit of it myself, it's like a niche, and you come and you say, this is where I'm supposed to be. It can be various roles, it can be various positions, but sometimes you just find the environment that you really like. So seek that out and see if you're one of those people that like to sort of move around and get all kinds of various experiences, or do you see a particular area of public service, if that's your choice for your career? Do you see an area of the public service that you are really feeling a fit with, and that's where you want to develop and that's where you want to grow your knowledge and skills? So before I came to the provincial government, I worked in some different community agencies. I worked with the St. John's Status of Women Council. I also worked with Memorial University, and I have over the years as an instructor as well in 3 different faculties. I guess for me, what I always feel, and regardless of what department we're talking about, when you come to work in as a public servant, when you pass through those doors and come to work, I think we all make a statement. Like there's inherent value in public service work. We are serving the public. We are in service. And I think there's something really, really inherently valuable about that. And I don't think that that's contingent on anyone's title. For the public service to work and to work well, all levels and all types of positions need to work together. You might be in an executive position, you might be in a management position, you could be in a frontline service delivery position, or you could be behind the scenes keeping the place clean, you could be doing the technical work in the background that makes all the rest of the stuff flow and work well. So, you know, to me, the title, the position, the level that you work at, is really not all that important, because it's the whole organization that needs to work together well. I could go on and on for hours about this stuff, but I only have about 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to talk really fast and stick to my little agenda here. One of the things that I would suggest to you, whether you're a student here for a couple of months with us this summer, whether you're in a short-term position or a long-term or a permanent position, seize the opportunities that come along. Don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. Sign up for committees. Put your hand up when there's a new project that comes along. Meet people. Introduce yourself. Shake hands. Talk about your interests. Talk about your career plans. Talk about the kinds of things that you've done that are really interesting, that some of those ideas might translate into the public service in terms of how we could do things differently or how we can do things better. No one has any ownership on new ideas, and sometimes new blood, new people, young, exciting energy coming into the public service is just what's needed sometimes to create some real good ideas and flow for new ways of doing things. So never be shy about suggesting ways to do things or some ideas that you have. Just because it's never been done before or because somebody hasn't looked at it a particular way doesn't mean that it can't be done. And of course, one of the things we're seeing more and more is that young people coming into the public service have much more technical savvy and have angles and ways of doing things and perhaps providing services that we haven't done before. And just because we haven't done it or haven't thought about it is no reason why we shouldn't do it or shouldn't think about it now. So don't be shy about that stuff. That's one of the things that I really, really like to leave with you. Also, distinguish yourself. And you can do that by things like your attitude, your approach with people, and that you have this constant ability and need and skill at problem solving. Government and the public service is a huge, huge organization, and the problems that are running along all of us and through our desks on a daily basis are pretty consistent. So if you can figure out how to be a real good problem solver, that's a great skill to have in your back pocket no matter what department and no matter what area of service you're going to be involved in. When you look at graduating classes from various types of programs, some of the classes are pretty big and everybody has the same credentials coming out of those classes. So, that's always something that you need to look at. How do I distinguish myself? And those are some of the kinds of things that are really important, like stand out in the crowd. Let your attitude speak for itself. How you engage with people, how you engage with your coworkers, how you engage with the public. Sometimes people are good at that, and sometimes they may have challenges in those areas. So it's really important to be able to, really set yourself aside when you're interacting with people in the workplace. One of the things that I wanted to comment on is that for those of you who are in positions as students for the summer, student jobs can offer real lifelong lessons as either a future employee or as an employer. And I'm just going to give you an example. When I was in university working on my undergraduate degree, I worked in a medical office. and I loved going to work there. I worked there part-time, and so my classes were around work, and work was around classes, and it was really busy, but it was a really great experience. I worked there for almost 4 years, actually. And the doctor that ran the office, it was a medical specialty. He was really, really busy. But, you know, one of the things that struck me is that every single day, and without exception, you know, he always had this attitude of respect for people. He viewed all the roles in the office as equally valuable. He was interested in the staff and our families. He was interested in the patients and their families. No one felt like they were a number, and no one felt like they were on a hierarchy of importance in the office. You know, there was a real attitude in the office of can do, can fix, can solve. Like whatever came along, we'd figure it out together in terms of moving towards a resolution of any issues that came up. You know, he always had an openness to ideas. If we had suggestions, he wanted to hear them. Sometimes they were implemented, sometimes they weren't. But if they weren't, you know, there was a good discussion. Well, I really appreciate that, and I'm glad you came forward, and here's the problem, or here's the reason why we can't move forward with that. So it was really respectful. It really felt like a true team. And I remember when I graduated, and it was time to move on into my professional career, I remember thinking, I am really going to miss this place. I've loved coming to work every day here. And we used to have patients that came in because some of them would be on a 1 or a 2 year treatment plan, and they'd require monthly visits or have to come in every 2 months. And people used to say, I love coming in here. There's such a great feel to this place. Now, they could have gotten the same service perhaps across town, but they really, really loved coming into that office because there was, I guess, something about the way people interacted and treated them and interacted with each other that really felt like that was just a good environment to be in. And I remember when it was time to leave that place, and I thought to myself, I'm going to be really sad to leave here because this has really been an exceptional place to work. And I remember thinking, as I move into my professional career now, what are the things that I take with me? And I you know, look back over almost 4 years of working there, and I remember even, you know, as you know, a young professional just graduating, I remember thinking, so why was this place so great? Because I had lots of friends in school, and they were talking about the jobs they hated, and they couldn't wait to ditch them when they graduated. And I was thinking, oh my, I'm going to be really sad to leave this place. So I remember doing a lot of thinking about that. What is it about here that is so different? And I made a conscious note of that. And I've tried to carry that with me throughout my public service career. And, you know, sometimes as an employee, when I've worked in various organizations, I've seen those same kinds of things. Sometimes I haven't. And when I haven't seen them, I noted that they were missing. So I guess that's the thing that I would say to you as well. Be a part of creating the environment that you're in. It doesn't matter if you're a student. It doesn't matter if you're a young junior employee. It doesn't matter if you're, you know, a seasoned and more senior person. Be a part of actively creating your environment. Don't be afraid to contribute. And the lessons that you're learning along the way, tuck them away and make sure you pull them out for reference when you need them. There's some really exceptional learning that will take place. And only some of it is the job description that you have. So anyway, I'll stop it there because I know you have an agenda that you want to carry on with.
Good.
But I really, really wish you well, whether it's a short-term or a longer-term one. Welcome, sincere welcome, and I wish you well and hope you have a really good experience. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Jackie. And just change camera here.
Okay.
And thanks for coming in. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and speak with our newest employees. And one of the things, you know, that Jackie mentioned there that kind of resonates with me is that this is indeed a workplace that there's just so many opportunities here. And a little later on, Jackie, this is very timely, a little later on in the session here, I'm going to show the We Are video. And that video explores some positions that you don't typically think of as government positions, just to sort of highlight again the variety of this workplace and how dynamic it is, And to one other thing you mentioned that I want to echo as well. Yes, the importance of, even if you are a student, as I imagine most of you probably are this time of year, we get a lot of students who are part of our new hires. Your contributions are valued, and to your point about taking part, being a part of your department, getting to know your coworkers. The relationship with your managers is key, and I'm going to speak to that a little bit, especially toward the end of the session. But your ideas are valued, and your input is valuable, and it's great to have all of you here. So, Jackie, I want to thank you once again for coming in, taking time out of your day to welcome our newest employees.
My pleasure. Don't forget my number. Call me anytime.
Will do. Thanks, Jackie.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, as I said, very much appreciate that. It's always great to have a member of our executive come in and speak with you and welcome you as our newest employees. I'm going to do one more very quick attendance check just to see if someone popped in very recently in the last few minutes. It looks like we haven't. Now, one of the things about this session today is I wanted to make it clear to you that you're going to see your screen change again here now. Actually, let me minimize that. That's not the one I want. I'm going to take a few minutes here just to have you get to introduce yourselves a little better. We have an opportunity here in this screen right here. For those of you who have webcams, I just encourage you to turn your webcams on just for a second here, so that we can actually see some of the faces around the province. And down in the chat section below, if you could indicate as you activate your webcams, for those of you with webcams, if everyone could just type in, literally where you're joining us from, like what city or town or community you're joining us from. If you don't have webcams, that's too bad. It's unfortunate, but we understand that sometimes when people get hired, there's just not enough time to organize a camera and whatnot for your desktop, so that's understandable. But I'd love to see who the not so shy ones are out there. If you want to turn your cameras on and let us have a peek at you, that would be great. And getting some towns coming in here now. Zach and Tiana down in Marystown, good. Sam, St. John's, Corner Brook, Lewisport. I was supposed to be going up to Lewisport this weekend, but it's calling for bad weather, so looks like I'm not going to be going out there. If it's just going to be like rain and whatnot, it's best to go out when you can drive around the community and stuff like that and hop up to Twilling Gate, sort of thing. Carbonear, Grand Falls, Windsor. Where else? Placentia as well. So you can see there's a great array of people from all over the province. No one has a camera on out there. Seems unfair that I should be the only one on camera. Like, that's a cruel joke, if you ask me. Okay, well, we have other opportunities to get to know one another, and we'll lead into that actually right now. I'm going to give you, you're going to see your screen change again in a second here. And going to give you an opportunity to let us know a little bit more about you. And, oops, get my screen change here. This activity is called All About You, and essentially, actually, let me see what just going to restore that for a second here. Yes, just going to maximize this for 1 second. So we're looking at what's your favorite food or meal, your favorite film, and your dream, your ideal vacation, put it that way, somewhere you've either been or would like to be. So we'll start off with your favorite foods, and you can just chat those in the chat section. See what we have here. It's amazing. Almost every session, at least one person says exactly what you just said there, Trina. Other favorite foods? Yam bread, tacos, yeah, Indian food, lots of pizzas. LFH is getting really specific. Not just bread, it's Boston pizza bread. Moose. Can't go wrong with moose. Some number there, pizzas. Yep. I must say, one of my favorite things to, when I walk in, my wife is off now in the summer months. She doesn't work during the summer months. So one of the great joys of my life is when I walk in the house and there's a big pot of pasta happening. Really enjoy that. Leslie's not picky at all, so if you're going to invite Leslie over, then sky's the limits. You can make just about anything. Fave film. Your favorite film. This one always generates a very wide, diverse group of responses. Children of Men. I don't believe I've ever seen that one. It's interesting. Jennifer R. has my favorite film listed there. Definitely Star Wars. Almost every time I run this question, definitely someone's going to say the Star Wars franchise. Lord of the Rings always comes up here. Step Brothers. If you like Step Brothers, you've got to love the Battle of Ricky Bobby. That's a classic. And Raiders, yeah, I haven't seen that one in a while. Perfect. And favorite vacation spot. Favorite vacation. Now, this is either somewhere you may have already been and just like to go back to, or somewhere you would like to go to. Trina, I'm a huge Boston Red Sox fan. I do like the Jays as well, for those of you ready to throw tomatoes at me or whatever, but I went to Boston in 2012, and I got to go to Fenway Park, and suffice it to say, it was a dream come true to me. What a great city, man. Boston's just an awesome town just to walk around and go on those duck tours and what have you. Just ride around and walk around. And I love the Commons. I love the market, Faneuil Hall. LFH, Ireland is on my bucket list for sure. I've actually never been overseas. I've been various parts of this continent, but I've never actually been overseas. Very interesting places here. Tiana, if you make it to Vegas, you can also take in a hockey game now, so they're getting an NHL team, so it's going to be kind of cool. Some very, very interesting responses. Perfect. Well, thanks so much. I'm a big believer in people having a chance to get to know each other. We might be online and we might be in a so-called, virtual session, but there's no reason we can't take a few moments out to get to know each other a little better, and I thought that was a nice little way to kind of break the ice and get you engaged and active and whatnot in the session and getting to know one another. Let's go back to the presentation here. Let's see where we are here. You're going to see your screen change yet again. That was our introduction activity there. I want you to, take a couple of minutes here. We'll get back to more formal introductions in a bit. But one of the things that I'm, really big on is finding out who we have in the session. And I know some of you've typed in, where you're joining the session from today and that sort of thing. And that's always great. But we're going to get to know exactly, a little more about the demographics, so to speak, of who we have here. So you're going to see your screen change yet again. And you're going to have a series of polling questions. Now, Zach and Tiana, as I mentioned, you're going to have to make an executive decision as to which one you want to choose for each of these questions, because the two of you are at the same work station. So this is just, I'm going to open this poll here. This is just a fun little engaging question for you to take part in, to just test out your polling and that sort of thing. So on a given day, you spend more time doing what? Working, studying, sleeping, eating, texting, exercising, web browsing. A lot of options there. Just going to give it a second here, make sure everyone's had a chance to test their polling. Okay. So, and are you able to see these results? Let's do this. 38% of you say you spend most of your time web browsing, and followed by 23% working. And there's some of you who are still studying, so 15.3% are still, actively studying as well and doing a fair bit of that. Perfect. That was just really, like I said, just to sort of test your polling capabilities. But let's see who you are now. Let's open up the next poll here. Are you a student employee, a full-time employee, a part-time, or seasonal employee? Let's see what our demographic is for this particular session. .7% are student employees, and like I said, this time of year that is not surprising at all. We get a lot of student employees in our sessions in the summer, and 14% of you are full-time employees. And regardless of your status, so to speak, it's great to have you all as part of our organization, and we look forward to your contributions. The next one. Have you ever worked with us before? Now, this is not a trick question or anything. It's, there are folks who have worked with us previously who are back again. So we do find that, especially those of you who are students. It's not uncommon to get placements a couple times in a row, that sort of thing. Okay. Almost 77% have never worked here before, but 7.6% worked here one time previously, and actually 15% have identified as having worked here more than once in the past. So definitely some familiarity there for some of you on the session here today. Okay. And let's go back to my presentation here. You're going to see your screen change here. Okay. another opportunity for you to share in a little bit about yourselves. See your screen change. And in this particular chat, I want you to list where it is very briefly. We'll see your name pop up when you make the chat, when you post the chat, but just essentially more along the lines of the department you're working in, and a very quick blurb about where you were before. So if you were a student, you can say, I studied at Kona or Mon or Dalhousie. If you are a permanent employee, the department you're currently working in, and where you worked just before government. Nothing wrong, just, a few words. And Sam, what department are you in? Interesting. Thanks, Sam. I'll just let you read down through there so you can get to know some of your fellow new employees who are in the session today. That's from Advanced Education Skills. That's great to see. But we do have a very good variety as well. That's okay, Tyler. We'll just blame it on autocorrect. A wide variety of departments represented there, as well as what you were doing previously. Okay. Leslie's still typing, so we'll give it another few seconds. Perfect. This is great. Like I said, it's just a chance for you to get to know a variety of individuals who are on the session here this morning, and for you to see a lot of this speaks to me, with the experience that you're bringing as well, regardless of whether you were formerly a student or you worked at another place prior to joining us here. And again, I want to reiterate my previous comments and Jackie's previous comments about, we can see on this board here the experience and the knowledge that we have in this virtual room here today. And I encourage all of you to use your experiences and your knowledge and whatnot and be active members of the public service. Wonderful. You'll see your screen change yet again. I'm going to take an opportunity now to go over a little bit about life working in the public service. And from my perspective, you know, it's one thing if we're employees. You know, I'm a huge believer in the concept of let's not simply be employees somewhere, but let's actually get to know a little bit about where we work. So in this section, we're going to do a couple of things. I'm going to show you a video, first of all. I mentioned that previously when Jackie was here. The video is called We Are. I'm going to let you have a peek at that video, and we're going to have a little discussion about the video after. And as well, after that, I have a couple more polling questions for you to sort of gauge how well you think you know your employer, the government of Newfoundland and Labrador. So you'll see your screen change here. It is absolutely important at this point, folks, for you to ensure that you're on mute, because if not, when I play this video, we will hear your mic hearing your speakers, and there will be all kinds of echo and whatnot. So I encourage everyone, and including myself, I will also go on mute when I play the video. But for best video viewing experience, it's important that everyone ensure that you're on mute, okay? So the video is called We Are. So what I want you to think about before we get into the video is to think about, before you joined the government of Newfoundland Labrador, what you may have thought government jobs were versus what you're going to see in the video. And this is only a sample of positions. I want to stress that. This is just a very small sample of the kinds of jobs, so to speak, that you know, make up the public service. So I'm going to go on mute. I'm going to start the video, and it's only about 2.5 minutes long. So take a look and see what you think. Okay, so I want you to think about the video you just saw, and let's do the whiteboard this time, just to change it up a little bit here. I guess I can't do that. Sorry about that. We will do the chat, I guess, if that's the case. I'm having a little bit of difficulty enlarging the whiteboard. I was going to do whiteboard this time instead of the chat, just to change it up a little bit for you. But it's the same question regardless. What resonates with you about the video you just saw? And I won't say much more than that other than to welcome your thoughts. As I said, you came into government with perhaps a preconceived idea as to what a government job entailed, and now you see this video. What are some of your thoughts about the video? There's no right or wrong with this, folks. I'm just looking for, comments. Mm-hmm. Yeah, diversity is definitely a key way to describe the workplace here. And as Jackie and other executives who've popped into these sessions in the past have stated, I've had executives come in and do the executive welcome, and they talk about, they started out literally as a clerk in some government department, and how they have gone to multiple departments since then, and are now ADMs or deputy ministers, and a lot of opportunities. Alyssa, that's a very good point there, and what I always say to people is that yes, we're government employees, but guess what we are as well? We're citizens. So my philosophy and everything that I do is I look at it from the standpoint I want to do the best I can in the work that I'm doing, because I'm essentially serving myself. We're all taxpayers, and we're all citizens and members of our communities. And so, as employees, we're actually serving ourselves as well as others. So that adds a different component to things as well, I think. Okay. Thanks for the comments. Yes, indeed, one of the things that comes up quite a bit in that discussion is the word diversity, and indeed, as I said, this is a very diverse workplace. I want you to sort of think now, you're coming into this position and to this employer, Government of Newfoundland and Labrador, and you probably, as I said, know a little bit about your employer, but this is an opportunity now for you to reflect on how well you may think you know the employer, and so again, this is not the end of the world if you got one of these wrong. It's just really for you to reflect on your employer. So I'm going to bring up the next polling question. How many employees are there in the core public service? Now, when I say core public service, I just mean the main 15 departments. So we're not talking about the healthcare industry. We're not talking about school boards and that sort of thing. We're just talking about core government. So let's open up that poll, and let's see what you think. How many employees are there in core public service? A number of options there. And it's a guess, of course. And I'll give it 5 more seconds before I close out the poll. So it's a pretty even tie. 35.7% of you think it's 8,100, and 35.7 think it's 7,550. I do believe you're in the right ballpark, but let's advance the slide and get the correct answer. And as of March 31, these stats are as of March 31 this year, so very recently, it is indeed 8,100 employees. Next question. What do you think is the gender breakdown of the public service? And you got a number of options there. 60 male, 40 female, 45 male, 55 female, 50-50, and 40 male, 60 female. So let's activate that question and see what you think. Gender breakdown. Okay, I'll end the poll there. Looks like the results are just about in there. So 35% plus believe it's 60% male, 40% female. That's typically the answer I get. Let's reduce this window and let's go back to the presentation and get our answer. It is actually very, very close. I rounded it to 50-50 there. It's like 50 point something versus 49 point something. But that's an industry, best in class, so to speak. That stat you see there. The fact that the gender breakdown is 50-50 says a lot about your employer. A lot of organizations are still struggling with that. It's still very male dominated and that sort of thing. So take pride. You're working for an employer that's very equitable. Gender breakdown of the executive team. Haha. So again, you got some options here. Now we're changing it up a little bit. We're focusing on folks just like Jackie who came in this morning to do your welcome. So at the executive level, what do you think is the gender breakdown? Let's bring up that poll and open it up. Again, these results are as of March 31, so fairly recent. Okay, give it another couple seconds. I think basically people are firm on their answers. So we got a real even distribution for this one in terms of what you selected. 28% of you think it's 61 male, 39 female. 28% say it's 56 male, 44 female, and 28 also say 49 male, 51 female. So let's see what our answer is. And once again, in terms of gender equity, it's very even. 51% male, 49% female. Very even distribution there among our executive. I added that question. I never used to have that question in, but people in prior sessions used to ask me, well, if it's 50-50 for the overall public service, what is the gender breakdown of the executive team? So I added in the question. So there you go. And next question, what do you think the average age of employees are in the public service? Let's bring up that poll. What is the current average age, employee age in public service, do you think? Okay. And about 66% of you believe it's 45 years of age. I do believe you're correct. Let's see what we have here. Indeed, 45 years of age is the average employee age. It's good to know that. And the next question, final question in terms of knowing your public service. What percentage of the core public service do you think is eligible to retire in the next 5 years? What percentage of employees are eligible to retire in the next 5 years? Let's open that poll for you. Some uncertainty with this one. Keep it open for just a few more seconds. There we go, I'll end it now. So about 35% of you believe it's 25%. I do believe that sounds about right, though let me just double check. Yeah, yes, so 25%. So 25% of the current roster, so to speak, of core public service employees is eligible to retire in the next 5 years. So there will be opportunities, I'm sure, in the next 5 years for those looking to join public service as well. Okay, well, I just again, I just wanted to take an opportunity there for you to get to know a little bit more about your employer. We'll get back to the presentation here now. The last part of our session here today, the next however long we're going to take, half an hour, this is really a lot to do with, you know, things that are expected of you moving forward. I mentioned before that this session today is not the be-all and end-all of your onboarding experience. It's one component. First of all, there's likely a number of things you're doing at the departmental level as part of your onboarding experience. And again, what we're doing here today and the things that I'm going to talk to from a corporate level are meant to complement that. It's not meant to replace anything you're doing at your departmental level. One of the things I'm going to do here is go over a number of things that are going to be required of you moving forward after today's session. And a key component of that is PS Access. And PS Access is what we branded our e-learning site, our learning management system. And it is host to a whole series of e-learning courses and other resources. And in fact, you have in there a page called Onboarding. So I've set up a course page called Onboarding for new employees. And when you go into that course page, it'll have links to any of the e-learning courses I'm going to be talking to, some of the key websites, links to those as well. So all in one place for you. It's really cool. You will have to request a user ID and temporary password where you're a new employee, so you'll have to request those, and you can do that right from the website itself. And the turnaround is typically really good on that. It's typically about a day or so, and you've got your ID and your access. And I'm going to demonstrate PS Access in a second. But show of hands here, if you could do the raise hand function. How many of you have used Desire to Learn at either college or university? So a good chunk of you have. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Okay, so the platform that we've built PS Access on is indeed Desire to Learn, and so you'll have a fair bit of familiarity with using the site once you get in there. Just get rid of that arrow. So in addition to today's session, there are a number of things we're going to be asking all employees to do, and we have 5 e-learning courses that you can access right from your onboarding course page in PS Access, and they are access to information and the protection of privacy, maintaining a harassment and discrimination-free workplace, occupational health and safety orientation, information management at work, or IM at work, and cybersecurity awareness. I cannot stress enough the importance of taking time. Each of these, by the way, is about an hour, hour and a half maybe to do. They're self-paced. You can go in there when you have a little bit of downtime. They're accessible from any computer. Not to say that you have to do these on your own time. I'm not implying that in the least, but I'm just saying that these courses are accessible from any computer connected to the internet. And you know, when you think about it, this is the part of the session where, and I apologize in advance, but I might be coming across a little bit like I'm lecturing you and whatnot. And again, apologies if that's the way it sounds, but I can't stress enough the importance of taking the time to do these courses. Every one of them is critical. And whether you're a student employee or not, you know, knowing about the ATIP, Access to Information and Protection of Privacy Act, is paramount. How many times in the media do we hear about, you know, breaches of privacy and whatnot? What we say is that, you know, ignorance is not an excuse. We have e-learning courses in there that talk to this and bring awareness to the subject, and it's our responsibility, all of us. And it doesn't matter if you're only here for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, or if you're here for the long term. Every one of us should be doing these, you know. Harassment and discrimination-free workplace, very important. You know, again, ignorance is not an excuse. You should be aware of your rights as an employee in terms of your health and safety in your workplace. You should be aware of what is considered proper information management storage and filing and what have you. Little things like, you know, and cybersecurity awareness talks about the importance of doing everything you can to protect not only the laptop or PC that you're working on, but government's network as well. Everything from the proper use of emails and email accounts to not, you know, letting people know your passwords and things of that nature. All of these e-learning courses are so important to your onboarding experience, and I cannot stress enough the importance of doing that. About 14% of you in the session this morning are permanent employees. If out of those 14%, if there are those of you who are at the management level, and if you are a part of the resource management package or intend to apply, and the resource management package is a dedicated program for managers who either manage people or finances. And if you're a part of the resource management package or you plan to apply for it in the very near future, there are some courses that are dedicated. In addition to the all employees courses listed above, there are also some courses that you can take as well: succession planning, managing occupational health and safety, consultants guidelines, information management, and if you sign off on any monetary amounts that are government monies, you need to complete delegation of financial authority as well. So just want to pinpoint those out to you. Okay, you're going to see your screen change yet again. I'm going to do a demonstration now of PS Access. So we're going to get a chance to go in there and take a look at that. And just give me 1 second here. So this is PS Access, and the view here is a little bit limited. I don't know how it's displaying on your particular screen, but with mine here, it's not showing full screen, so I got to do some scrolling. But typically, you wouldn't have to do scrolling when you come in here. So this is the main login page. This is the address up here, d2l.psaccess.ca. And when you go to this site, you can request your PS Access account by clicking on this button and just follow the instructions. If you ever forget your login name or your password, you can click on those in the future. But the one you need right now is this one right here, request a PS Access account. So I'm going to go in and log in. Now, I have an administrator profile, so the look when I go in here might be a tad bit different from what you're going to see when you log in, but not that much different. So you'll be, when you request your PS Access account, you will be given a username and a temporary password. You'll get to choose your own password later. You will not get to choose your PS Access username. That one will definitely be, it'll start with PS and then be followed by 6 digits. Okay, so it won't be your government ID, the one you sign in with the government network. It will be a different one. I'm just going to sign in here. And so when you come in, you're going to have, a number of these courses that are featured courses or featured offerings. Some tips here on how to navigate PS Access, and then a menu of main topics. To get to your onboarding course page, you've got a couple of options. You can access it through working in the public service, and there it is right there, onboarding. Or those of you who desire to learn, it's the same kind of search capabilities. You can just come in here and type in onboarding, and you'll be able to be directed to the course that way. So I'm just going to click on onboarding. So working in the public service, and then onboarding. And here's your onboarding course page. And we got this is known as an accordion format. So you click on the banner and the information drops down and that sort of thing. So that's just a welcome message from me. And I am, by the way, I am your corporate level liaison, so to speak. Your contact at the corporate level for anything related to onboarding. And by all means, always feel free to reach out to me after this session. Some e-learning courses for you. There's no registration needed for any of these. You just simply click on the links and you get taken to the respective course pages, and the instructions for launching the course and completing the quizzes and whatnot will be there for you. By the way, completion of a course in our world is completion of the course and the final quiz for that course at a score of 80% or higher. I do believe you are able to take the quiz more than once, the final quizzes, but simply going through the screens and reading the content is not considered completion in our records. We run reports from the quiz completions. So here's links to those courses I mentioned right there in front of you, and if you are managers, again, you've got courses there waiting for you as well. If there are any sessions to be added, and I'll speak to one that we're working on, if there are other sessions related to the onboarding experience, not necessarily just today's session, the welcome session, but anything related to sessions for our new employees, this is where you'll link out to that list of sessions that are upcoming. Some important items, and I'll talk a bit about these. Actually, I can talk a little bit about them right now. There's a couple of here. Conflict of interest. I'll speak to that now. I do have a slide on each of these, by the way, back in the presentation, but while I'm here, I may as well speak to them. We have here important items for your review, and I can't stress enough that it is just as it says. We expect all new employees, regardless of your status, to review these. The conflict of interest document is simply a reminder to individuals that now that you are Government of Newfoundland and Labrador employees, that if you are engaging in any other activity outside of work, whether it be paid or not paid, and you suspect that there could be a conflict of interest, that your outside work could, potentially conflict with the work you're doing as a public service employee, then there's a process and a name on that document, if we were to click on this link, that you can call and contact this individual and run it by her, and she can give you some advice on that or not. Social media use policy. We do have a social media policy in place here in the government of Newfoundland and Labrador, and we do expect that you review the policy and be aware of it. I guess what I would say to all of you is this, common sense should prevail. People are on everything nowadays. They're on Snapchat and Twitter and Facebook and what have you. And government itself does have Twitter accounts. It does have a Facebook page and whatnot. So we know the importance of using social media to engage the public and to inform the public, but we also expect that our employees understand their use of social media as employees of government. So, obviously making comments about government and about your workplace and whatnot is not acceptable. So a lot of it is common sense, but regrettably sometimes, people do need to be pushed in the right direction before they do something that could potentially harm their reputation and governments. So please do review that. And the final one here, Public Interest Disclosure and Whistleblower Protection Act. It's an act that protects us as employees from reprisal for reporting any wrongdoings that we might see in the workplace. So if we see something that's happening that we don't believe to be in the best interests of government, that we don't believe to be ethical or what have you in the workplace, we are asked to report those things, and in turn, this act, which came down, I think, a couple years ago, protects us from any kind of reprimand for doing that. So review that as well. This section here is called Resources for All Employees. So in addition to e-learning, there's a whole bunch of resources that are available to you. The onboarding, employee onboarding handbook, I'll talk to that in a second, and the checklist. Those of you living and working in St. John's, if you have the time, I would definitely recommend, taking in the House of Assembly tour. It's great to go and do that. Again, if you're in the St. John's area. Resources for permanent employees, so those of you, the 14% of you on the call who are not student employees. So we have links here to information about your pensions, any upcoming pension seminars, and group benefits linked to your group benefit information as well. And then specifically for student employees, we have the Office of Youth Engagement, Getting the Message Out, UROC. These are all centered towards student employees. Wellness and Healthy Living section, there's a lot of resources in here promoting wellness at the workplace. And finally, videos. This is the We Are video that you saw, but you can play it right from here. And student employees, I want you to also register for a couple of very short videos. You do have to register, by the way, and you might be saying, well, why do I need to register to look at a video? Because these were actually recorded content or sessions, so to speak, that are part of your onboarding experience. But in order to track, uptake and completion and whatnot, we do require that you register. They're very short. I think one is only like 10 minutes long, the other is only like 15 minutes long. But because the expectation is for you to view them on government time, we do want your manager to sign off on that and say, yeah, he or she can go ahead and view these videos. And you can, when you send in the registration form, you can indicate both videos on the one form. You don't have to send one for each. And the registration form is right here for you. So that's a little bit about your onboarding course page in PS Access. And of course, any of the courses in here that are, oops, sorry, I got to get back into my meeting room here. Courses, in addition to those main 5 ones that I spoke about there, that you want to take, there's no added registration level. It's only for, those videos and a couple of other things. And to request your PS Access profile, you'll have to do that as well. Other courses in there that you can avail of, there's some tutorials on Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, a number of recorded webinars, Those of you who are permanent employees, if you're looking to do some leadership development, there are courses in there, quite a few actually, on leadership development, but you do have to register for those because those cost us. So we do request registration for those, and you'll see the ones that you need to register because it'll say by registration only beside the courses. So in addition to today's session, if any sessions get added that are directed and intended for new employees, that link that I pointed out in PS Access will take you to that section. We are looking at the possibility of getting a greening government session happening. We ran one of these in the past, and we've been just trying to coordinate getting another one done or at least finalized and ready to go. Again, it's approximately a 90-minute session. It'll be virtual like this. We do not have a date and time confirmed, but again, you know, when you click on that link from PS Access, the moment we get something determined, we'll pass that along to you. For those of you who are permanent employees, also look for upcoming pensions overview sessions and group benefits overview. We're looking at doing something recorded for that, but again, no date and time determined yet. But you should also keep your eye open for that, for those of you who are in the 14% here. And again, I mentioned the recorded videos, and please register for those if you're student employees. Onboarding handbook and checklist. I want to see if I have. Just give me 1 second here. I'm just going to, you're not seeing this, but I'm just going to pop out of a website here and locate something. And I will share my screen with you in a second now. Actually, let's do that right now. You'll see your screen change. I'm just going to show you a couple of things. Very important, once you are done this session, to review your employee handbook as well as the employee checklists for onboarding. And I'll show you where to find that. Let's just go right from the start here. To get to the Center for Learning and Development's website, and specifically to locate you know, a number of things related to onboarding, departments and agencies. And by the way, I don't expect you to memorize this at all. Human Resource Secretariat we're in, and then Learning and Development. And this is the Center for Learning and Development's main page. And I got here schedule of upcoming workshops. So again, a whole list of topics. And onboarding has its own section. And I wanted to bring up a couple of things. So here's the employee handbook. And again, a link right in PS Access is available for you on this. So here's the employee handbook. It's a bit lengthy, but I mean, it covers just about everything you can imagine in terms of, you know, being a new employee and the things that you need to know, standard of dress, hours of work, all kinds of information on policies and what have you. So that's the handbook. Now, also important is the checklist, and I encourage people to go through this checklist with their managers. In other words, from time to time, touch base with your manager on how you're progressing through it. What is the onboarding checklist, you may ask? Well, what it is essentially a checklist of things that you really should do within the first 2 weeks of your employment. Have you visited the government website? Have you completed the oath of office and whatnot, and so on and so on. There's an entire section, I think, down here related to leaves and absences right there, how that works. Learning and development, that's us, as well as your own internal learning, human resource policies, occupational health and safety. It's a whole section. So what this checklist is intended to do is to make sure that in the first couple of weeks that we're all on the same page and we're all getting the information and getting awareness of everything we need to know to help us transition into our new roles in government. So I just wanted to bring those up for you and to show you there. the employee handbook right here, and as well the employee checklist. So please, I can't stress enough the importance of printing those off and going through them and completing them right away. In addition to that, I'm going with you. I'll just you'll see the screen change again as we wrap up, and we're probably going to be wrapping up now in the next few minutes, by the way. Let's change the screen here. In addition, I have here a post-onboarding session to-do list. And so that means immediate things that, you know, I'm asking all new employees to do right after this session. So you'll have a chance, you'll see your screen change again, but you will have a chance to download files when we're done the session in a few minutes, okay? So other important resources and tools to complement today's session and to get you started here, we got them listed here for you. And a lot of these I've already spoken to, so I'm not going to go into any great sort of detail with that. I mentioned the conflict of interest. Please review all of these policies, folks. Social media policy also has a video, a quick little video that kind of summarizes the policy for you. So at the very least, look at the video and get to know the policy. And again, the Whistleblower Protection Act, I've talked about that as well, and greening government, and certainly hopeful that we can get something set up and organized. And you know, I say if we can get one of these sessions finalized in the coming weeks, even if you're a student employee, the moment that session gets published on the website there, please sign up, because even though you may be thinking, well, I'm only here for, you know, X amount of weeks or whatnot, I always say, you know, you bring experience, you worked in other places, you studied in other institutions, you were able to see some of the best practices that they had related to greening their workspace, and you know, you bring a lot of insights, and I encourage you to participate if we can get one of these sessions on the go. I keep saying if because there's nothing that's been solidified yet in terms of a date and a commitment. So, but the moment one gets decided on and finalized, and we can get that date published for you, I would really welcome your input. And the 5 pillars of our greening action plan are green procurement. So in other words, what we're purchasing, well, I had my little arrow over there, but there we go. So what we're purchasing, and are we purchasing green? In other words, the very products that we're purchasing in government, are they the greenest that we could be purchasing? What's happening with our waste? That's another pillar. How is that? How are we diverting our waste, and are there ways that we can improve in how we're doing that? Our actual buildings, are they the most efficient they can be from a green standpoint? Our transportation, our fleet, are we purchasing the most you know, green and efficient vehicles that are available on the market? I would add to that too that, you know, I'm doing my part from a greening standpoint, because you know, just a short couple of years ago, these sessions were held in person. There was travel costs. I had to go out into the regions and do that. We have everyone from Placentia to Marystown to Corner Brook to Lewisport, all over the place right in this session here today. And I would venture to say that my footprint is substantially less than what it was 3 years ago when I took over the onboarding portfolio. So I'm hoping to walk a little bit of the talk here myself on this. And the final pillar is employee engagement. And, you know, you have some great ideas, I'm sure. And like I said, the moment we can get a date solidified for a session, I would really welcome your input on that. Before we wrap up, a couple of things here. I'm going to get you to fill out feedback, and the way I do feedback on the session today is through polling questions. Keep it all electronic. And then I'm going to share with you that screen where you can download those documents that you're going to need after the session today, the employee handbook, the employee checklist, and the post-session immediate to-dos. I want to conclude, I guess, on this note with you that your enthusiasm is indeed infectious, as it says here. Bring it to work every day. I will share with you, it's been a couple summers now since we've had a summer student. I don't know if we're getting one this year or not. Would be awesome if we could, but I know a couple summers ago we had 2 students who worked here out of the Center for Learning and Development, and I welcomed their feedback because I was just at the time I was just starting to take on this onboarding portfolio, and it was was new to me. And they had some fantastic insights in terms of, ways that I could improve the session, and everything from reducing print materials to, they had some great insights and input. And I welcome you to be the same way, to come into the workplace and don't just treat it as a place that you're going to be coming into during the summer months. But also be a part of the workplace. Your contributions are definitely valuable to the public service. Establish a relationship with your manager. I cannot stress that enough. A good working relationship with your manager goes a long way, and also your coworkers. Some of them may be relatively new themselves, but some may have been here for a few years. And employees are walking around with a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of guidance that they can provide to you. So don't be a stranger is essentially what I'm saying there. Get to know your fellow coworkers. I'm here as a resource for you as well from an onboarding standpoint. So definitely don't be a stranger in my regard. Contact me if you have any questions related to onboarding in the future. And you got my phone number there as well. If you'd like to just give me a call and have a chat about something, I'm definitely open to that. So I'm going to end the session by giving you an opportunity to provide some feedback. These responses are anonymous. No one will see them but you. And let's bring up the first one here. Switch now to the file sharing mode, and these are the 3 documents that I referenced that you'll need. So as it says there on the instructions, very simple. Just click on. You got to do it one at a time, I will add. So click on each one, and you can download that right to a location right on your desktop. And Zach and Tiana, in your case, where you're only working off of one computer, don't hesitate to reach out to me via email, and I can send you those or direct you to the site where you can print them off. This is your opportunity now to download those documents. I'm going to stay here on the session and keep the session open for a couple of minutes, and if anyone has any questions or whatnot, I'm here for you. In the meantime, I'll say thank you to all of you for joining today, and again, I can't stress enough how great it is to have all of you as part of the government of Newfoundland and Labrador, and remember, your contributions are important, and be a part of your work environment, and contribute, and welcome. So thanks, everyone. I'm going to stay on the session here for a couple more minutes, and if you have any other comments, questions, or whatnot, I'll be monitoring the chat section for the coming next 2 minutes or so. Thank you, everyone. Jennifer, to your question, no, they don't necessarily need to be returned to me or to anyone. It's really just to have something to help you, to guide you through the first couple of weeks here in your employment with us. And the checklist, as I said, I would recommend touching base with your manager from time to time to let them know, hey, I've done these many items, or what does this one here mean, or, whatever. You're welcome.